Thank you for joining us today at our DCSEU Multifamily Housing Roundtable. We're happy to have you here. We'd like to just continue our partnership with you and share with you the latest and greatest information that we have available for this market sector. And we're always happy to join our friends at the Building Innovation Hub to keep us up to date on the policies and requirements here in the district. So I did forget to mention that I am Crystal McDonald, and I am the Director of Account Management and Workforce Development. So our team, the account managers, interact directly with you guys who have joined us here today. So it's important that we keep you informed and make sure our programs are accessible in a way that can set you up for success. So today we will cover the BEPS review and compliance matters that matter to the multifamily sector and both market rate and affordable housing. We will stop for a few burning questions sort of halfway through our session here today. And then we'll go into programs applicable to the multifamily buildings here in the district. And then finally, which is most important, I think, is to just walk through how you can engage with the district if you're with the DCSEU if you're not already assigned to an account manager. Our goal is to make it easy for you to navigate our programs, and then we'll also share additional resources. So that's our agenda for today. But before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you my boss, Mr. Ben Burdick.
Thanks very much, Crystal. Appreciate the introduction. Again, everybody, my name is Ben Burdick. I'm the Senior Director of Operations here at the DCSEU, which is a relatively new role to me. But I have been with the DCSEU for a little over 11 years, so almost since the beginning of the DCSEU itself. Just want to say welcome. This is our second multifamily roundtable, but one of many of these types of roundtables that we hold to really help unique vertical markets like multifamily buildings, and sometimes even drilling down to affordable multifamily buildings as we have in the past, just to really get to your unique concerns and address some of those unique concerns with specific tools for your market. These roundtables really offer an opportunity for us to, for you to be informed, reminded, updated about the tools and resources that are available to you to really help you meet and achieve your clean energy and energy efficiency sustainability goals, and and also to comply with district requirements such as the Building Energy Performance Standards. So to really give you some background on the DCSEU, again, we've been around since 2011. Our mission here really is to make energy efficiency, clean energy, and its benefits more affordable, more accessible, more understandable to every person and business in the district. And that obviously would include the very important work that you do as multifamily building owners and managers. Since 2011, we have helped our customers, both residents and businesses, generate more than $1 billion in lifetime energy cost savings. And we think it's really important that we are able to meet you where you are and serve as a resource, provide those industry-leading learning opportunities like this, our expert hands-on assistance from our account managers and our engineering team, and finally, and probably most importantly to you, that technical assistance and financial support to help you achieve those goals. Next slide, please. So the DCSU is really unique. I'm not going to dwell on this too much. Many of you probably know who we are, but the DCSU is unique as an energy efficiency utility, as we like to call ourselves. There's energy efficiency utilities across the country. We believe the DCSU is one of the most unique ones because it's not only about energy savings, it's also about some social equity goals around creating green jobs for district residents, ensuring that district businesses are benefiting from the dollars that are being invested in energy efficiency and clean energy, ensuring that those dollars are being invested in communities that need it most in terms of we have some requirements around and we strive towards investing those dollars in low-income communities, And obviously, clean energy and really deep energy retrofits in buildings like yours, finding ways to really make a large impact in your buildings, helping you uncover those opportunities to do that. So I'm really excited to have our longtime partners at the Institute for Market Transformation, IMT, and the Building Innovation Hub here today to first provide some detailed updates about the district's building energy performance standards, where we are there. And really excited to introduce Teresa Backus, who's the director of the Building Innovation Hub, who's going to provide those updates. So thank you very much. We look forward to your questions, and we look forward to engaging not only during this, but after this presentation to continue to support you on your travel through BEPS and to meet your clean energy and sustainability goals.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everybody. It's great to see so many familiar names on our attendee list, and it's also great to meet those of you who I haven't yet met and who may be new to the Hub. I'm going to go through, it's about 30 slides, but I'm going to try to take less time than that. And if you have questions as I go along, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll also save some time after my presentation for a more in-depth discussion about anything that I cover. I'm going to be talking today about to provide you with an update on where we are in the BEPS cycle as of today, June 14th, and what you need to do now, depending on where you are with your buildings, as well as some information that you're going to need to track in order to ensure that you're keeping up to date on everything you have to do. And then finally, what resources are available to you and how you can get involved. Next slide, please. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Hub, we are a nonprofit. We're a program of IMT, the Institute for Market Transformation, and we are intentionally in the middle space between the government and the private sector to help translate the regulations, create resources for you, help connect you to funding and incentive programs like those at the DCSEU and the Green Bank and others, host conversations, make connections, and really support you in any way that we can to help you find success with the BEPS, and also much more broadly than that with high performance buildings, saving money, and meeting all of your social, environmental, and regulatory goals. Next, please. So a little bit about where we are, as I said, in the BEPS process here in the district. I like showing this slide, and for those of you who have seen my presentations, you're probably very familiar with this slide, but it's an important context for all of us. This is a representation of where the emissions in the District of Columbia come from. So you can see that we have three main sectors, so to speak, that were represented on this slide. And by and large, the greenhouse gas emissions, over 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions in the District of Columbia comes from our building sector. So our buildings and the energy use in those buildings. So this is why it is really, really important that the district address the building sector in order to bring our greenhouse gas emissions down. We want everyone to begin seeing our buildings as opportunities and not as challenges to meeting these goals. We think that there's a lot of opportunities in our buildings and our existing building stock to not only save energy and thus reduce our emissions, but to save money and to create really better living spaces for the residents and the occupants of our buildings. Next, please. So who does BEPS apply to? BEPS is the Building Energy Performance Standards, and BEPS is based on size thresholds. And those size thresholds come into play over a number of years. So currently buildings 50,000 square feet and up are subject to the BEPS. That's BEPS Cycle 1 or BEPS Period 1. These large buildings have been benchmarking their energy and water usage now for 10 years. So there's a lot of data that these buildings have been tracking over the last 10 years. And that is the data on which the building performance standards were set. So the BEPS cycle started on January 1st of 2021. And those are the buildings, again, that we're going to be discussing today. But I also want to flag that buildings 25,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet started benchmarking 2 years ago. And so just like with the bigger buildings, those buildings will eventually be subject to the BEPS. And that cycle for those buildings starts in 2027. And then you can see eventually all private buildings 10,000 square feet and up will be subject to the BEPS by 2033. Next, please. This is a timeline. There's a lot going on this slide, but we've tried to condense a BEPS timeline into one visual here. And there's some really important milestones that you need to be aware of. So we have our overall BEPS period, also known as the BEPS cycle. A BEPS period contains the time in which the standards are actually set. So in this case, for cycle 1, that was January 1st, 2021. And again, those standards were set based on the benchmarking data. A BEPS period also includes the evaluation period, wherein the district determines if your building meets or does not meet the BEPS. And the BEPS period also includes what's known as a compliance cycle. So that is the period of time where if your building does not meet the BEPS, you need to make improvements and adjustments in order to bring your building into compliance. And then the final major component of a BEPS period is the analysis and enforcement year. And that's where the district looks at all of those buildings that weren't meeting the BEPS to see what they implemented and to confirm that they have met their requirements and are now in compliance. So for cycle 1, and let me pause there and say, when the first BEPS period is over, the second BEPS period will begin. So in this case, BEPS 2 starts January 1st, 2027. And again, that's when buildings 25,000 square feet and up will be subject to the BEPS. It also means that buildings 50,000 square feet and up will be subject again. So buildings 50,000 square feet and up, cycle 2 will begin for you as well, January 1st, 2027. Now for the compliance cycle for cycle 1, we are right in the middle of that first green rectangle, or blue on your screen rectangle. We are, for the buildings that do not meet the standard, who have been entered into a compliance cycle. April 3rd, 2023 was the deadline for you to select the pathway that you would like to follow to bring your building into compliance. And now that we are after April 3rd, we're in the period of implementation. So we are full throttle towards designing or thinking about how you're going to improve your building performance, making decisions about building retrofits, hiring for that analysis and work, and then implementing those changes to your building in time to have enough time for benchmarking. And I'll get into what that means in a minute. But you can see here that so we have about 3 years between now and the end of the BEPS cycle where you will need to demonstrate your improved performance. If by January 1st, 2021, you already did meet the standard, so you were above the BEPS threshold, there is no action that you're required to take for this current cycle. However, it is very, very important that you keep in mind that you may be subject to cycle 2 of the BEPS. And if your building meets BEPS 1 now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's meeting the second cycle of BEPS. So plan now for BEPS 2 and think about your long-term energy efficiency and energy performance. Next, please. And I'm not going to get too much into the basics of BEPS today. I really want to focus on where we are in the cycle now and what you need to do now that we are after the April 3rd deadline for BEPS cycle 1. So this is the breakdown of what that compliance cycle looked like. On the previous slide, that was that green, basically that green block in time in the overall timeline. So if your building does not meet the BEPS, you would have received multiple notifications from the District of Columbia DOEE, Department of Energy and the Environment, notifying you that your building would need to make improvements in order to increase your energy efficiency or energy performance. So you enter the compliance cycle. Then, as I mentioned, April 3rd was the deadline to submit a pathway, and the district has been reviewing those selections and approving them. And then, if there's anything that any comments they had about your selection, they would have been in touch with you over the last couple of months to finalize that. And again, like I said, now our current phase, we are in our performance and reporting phase, if you will. So we are in that point in the compliance cycle where buildings are acting upon their pathway selections. Then the end of that compliance cycle will be December of 2026, and then kicks in the district's evaluation and enforcement year, where they will review everything that is submitted and all of your data that has been benchmarked again to confirm that you have in fact improved your energy performance. And if you're not in compliance, that is when the various penalties could possibly be administered. Next, please. So I know I'm aware that there may be some individuals on the call today whose buildings have not selected a pathway. This slide is for you. If you know that your building does not meet the BEPS for cycle 1, so you received that notification from the district and you were not able to select a compliance pathway by the beginning of April, the most immediate action you need to take is you need to contact DOEE as soon as possible. I put the email here on the left, building.performance@dc.gov, or you can go on their website, which I'll drop into the chat soon, submit a help desk ticket. And so biggest recommendation is get in touch with them as soon as possible. There were letters sent by DOEE in April notifying you if you had not selected a pathway. And there is the potential to face fines for not selecting those pathways by the dates sent in the letter to DOEE. If you do not know if you submitted a pathway or not, I still recommend getting in touch with DOEE. They can tell you where your building stands in terms of meeting that April 3rd deadline. Another thing that you will want to be sure to do now is confirm the contact that you have listed for your building in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. The notifications or the contact information that the district has might be the contact information that's listed in Portfolio Manager. So if you use a third-party vendor to help you with your benchmarking and your tracking, and that's the contact information that you have in Portfolio Manager, get in touch with them to see if they have received any of these notifications. You might want to make sure that all of that is coordinated and that the right contact information is listed in your account. And then finally, you can reach out to us, thebuildinginnovationhub.org. We are here to help you with any questions you have about this. We're here to support you with understanding what your next steps are. We also have a program. My colleague Yolanda Bonner is on the phone today as well, and she is leading our Success with BEPS program, wherein we have, again, a lot of opportunities for one-on-one support. So this is what you need to do if you have not yet chosen your pathway. Next, please. Here is, I want to go through each of the principal compliance pathways with you today, very briefly, to tell you about what you need to do if you have chosen a pathway. So if you did choose a pathway by April 3rd and you chose the performance pathway, your target by the end of the compliance cycle is to reduce your energy usage by 20%. So, and that is from the baseline, which is the average site EUI from calendar years 2018 and 2019. So as I said before, right now we're in the action phase. This is where you need to reduce that EUI. The actions that you take, it's a performance-based pathway. So really what you need, the district is concerned with the end result, that you have reduced your energy usage at the end of the compliance cycle by 20%. So how you get there, I wouldn't say it's not important, of course it is, but how you get there doesn't matter so much than the fact that you get there. So you will be reducing your energy uses. They will be evaluating you based on the site EUI from calendar year 2026. And you demonstrate all of this via your Energy Star benchmarking. So your deliverable essentially at the end of the compliance cycle is updated Energy Star benchmarking in Portfolio Manager. Next, please. For the standard target pathway, if you chose the standard target pathway, you need to raise your Energy Star score to meet the standard for your property type. So this is another performance-based pathway. Your baseline, so to speak, is really not applicable. It's essentially, your Energy Star score from 2019. And you need to raise that score to be at or above the standard for your property type. And you can find out what that is by looking up the BEPS guidebook, but I will say that for multifamily buildings, that's a 66, I believe. And so you need to increase your score to that or above that. And again, they will be evaluating you based on your Energy Star score for calendar year 2026. And you do that, your deliverable is also by demonstrating your Energy Star score and Energy Star Portfolio Manager through benchmarking. Next, please. So here is a little bit about the prescriptive compliance pathway. This one is more complicated to explain the types of deliverables and the process that you'll follow between now and the end of 2026. This is exactly as it sounds. It's a prescriptive pathway. It's not a performance-based pathway. So there is a series of measures that you will need to implement and demonstrate that you have implemented to the district by the end of the cycle. The first phase of the prescriptive pathway has passed. That was April 3rd. That was the pathway selection. You also needed to submit an energy audit with that pathway selection. So now we are in phase 2, which is the action plan phase of the prescriptive pathway. This is where you develop the full plan for how you will be, the actual final decision on the energy efficiency measures that you will be implementing at your building and how you will get there. You will be in each of these phases. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 have very distinct deliverables that you need to submit to the district by the dates listed on the right. So you need to submit your action plan by April 1st of next year. Then you move into phase 3, which is the implementation phase. Implementation report is due April 1st, 2026. And then at the end of the compliance cycle is the same as the other pathways. It's 2026, but then you would need to, you get a little bit of extra time to submit your phase 4 deliverables, which is your measurement and verification report and your evaluation of the effectiveness of the measures you've implemented, which is due in April of 2027. Next, please. And I'd say all of this is, there's a lot of detail for each of these pathways. The Hub has a number of resources that we'll show you in a minute on each of these, how you can understand exactly what you need to submit, how you go about documenting each of these phases. So this is a summary of what I just discussed. This is what's due for each action or each phase in the prescriptive pathway. You can see here that, like I said before, the energy audit phase has passed. We're now in the final EEM selection and O&M program submission phase, which is the action plan. The implementation report includes not just how you implemented the measures, but how you tested to ensure that the measures were effective. And then you need to attest to implementing the O&M program that you submitted in phase 2. So for phase 4, again, this is the evaluation and the monitoring and verification report phase. This is where you will submit that post-implementation report. You will evaluate the effectiveness of the measures you implemented. If there's anything that's that was not completed in a previous phase, you will demonstrate that it has been completed, and then you will report on testing and commissioning. Next, please. So back to what I said earlier in the timeline that we saw on an earlier slide, which you can see faded out in the background. If your building already meets the requirements for cycle 1, that's a great thing. Congratulations. Everything that you need to do is not grayed out. It's really on the right side of the slide. So you need to be planning ahead for BEPS cycle 2. We highly recommend that you know how your building is performing now. You know how your building performed in 2019, so you can kind of assess those trends on how your building has been either increasing efficiency or decreasing efficiency since 2019, where your Energy Star score is, and think about how far away from the standard for cycle 1 that you were. If you were, say, at a Energy Star score of 67, while you meet the BEPS for cycle 1, you are very close to that standard. So you might not necessarily, and we don't know yet, but you might not necessarily meet the standards for cycle 2. There are a number of questions you can begin thinking about, and those are here in the box. So for example, like I said, how close are you to the standard now? Where are you in your capital improvement cycle? Have you been having discussions, and are you thinking about electrifying any of your systems? Have you had your energy benchmarking data verified? I'm going to pause there for a second and remind everyone that you are not currently required to have your energy benchmarking data verified by a third party, but you will be required to do so beginning in 2024 for calendar year 2023 data. So while it's not a requirement now, it will be next year. So we highly recommend that you get your data verified as soon as possible. It's important to know that what you're putting in Portfolio Manager is accurate, because that is the data ultimately that the district is using to set the standards and to determine whether or not your building meets the BEPS. Also consider a level 2 energy audit if you haven't already done so. Who are you working with in terms of consultants and energy professionals? And if you need support finding those professionals, you can come to the Hub, and we have a pool of vendors that we can put you in touch with. We are also, again, happy to support you through our Success with BEPS program, and then connect you and help you understand what your next steps are to help you future-proof your buildings for cycle 2. Next, please. So this is again a very a simplified version of what a compliance cycle looks like. So if your building meets cycle 1, You are still subject to this general structure of BEPS compliance, but this is what you will need to follow potentially beginning in cycle 2. So this is a simplified timeline without any of the cycle 1 dates on it. Next, please. And let's get into some FAQs that we often hear and some FYIs, as well as the available support that's around for you on engagement opportunities. I wanted to spend some time clarifying the roles because I know it can be really confusing to understand who you need to go to for what information and what support. And there are a lot of peer organizations that have been established to help you, but each of us do different things. We're all related and we all work together, but we each have a different role. There's the DC Sustainable Energy Utility, the DC Green Bank, the Building Innovation Hub, and then various departments across the District of Columbia, specifically the District Department of Energy and the Environment. And certainly this is not the full landscape of support organizations, but we work very closely as partners in this effort to support you with BEPS. So I want to talk a little bit about how you can interact with each of us. Next, please. So the DCSEU, our partners on our webinar today, on our roundtable today, the DCSEU, the Sustainable Energy Utility, is established to help district residents, businesses, institutions, buildings save energy and money through, and this is important, efficiency and renewable energy programs. So this is led by the Sustainable Energy Utility, Sustainable Energy Partnership, sorry, and is under, DCSEU is under contract to the District Department of Energy and the Environment. So DCSEU provides rebates, technical assistance, no cost technical assistance, as you know, Ben and Crystal mentioned earlier, and as we'll hear about a little bit later, a lot of training opportunities, support with renewable energy installations, performance rebates, and various performance incentives, such as the Pay for Performance program. There's also income qualified help, and there's a number of other resources that I won't cover in this slide because I won't do it justice, so I'll let the DCSEU talk about that more. Who to contact. There are a lot of account managers on the call today, and I specifically want to mention Yvonne and Paige, who are supporting our affordable multifamily buildings and market rate multifamily buildings, but there are a number of account managers that you can get in touch with directly, and they're very responsive, and they're here specifically to support you. In terms of BEPS support, in addition to everything I mentioned above in the services and programs, they provide energy audit assistance. So it's, I'm going to mess up the terminology, so I apologize, DCSEU, but it's essentially an incentive for conducting energy audits to help you pay for the energy audit exercise. They're also administering the Retrofit Accelerator program, and they will talk a lot more about what that is in a minute. Next, please. So the DC Green Bank. The DC Green Bank is another one of our partners in this effort, and their role is to provide low-cost financing and increased access to capital, so that to help you really enable deep energy retrofits in your property. This goes beyond the incentives and resources that the DCSEU and the Hub provide. And really the DC Green Bank is, they leverage public funding to attract private capital. So it's an interesting model. You might be familiar with the Montgomery County Green Bank. It's similar in structure to Montgomery County Green Bank. And the DC Green Bank provides offers like PACE and CLEAR, but also other low interest loans, pre-development loans called Navigator product. They also have custom products wherein they can work with you to develop a custom product specific to your situation. They also have a program called the Community Impact Initiative. And I put the info at DC Green Bank email here. There are also a lot of individuals who I can connect you with directly, depending on which program or service you're interested in. They are also a partner in the Retrofit Accelerator program for BEPS. They also have expanded their financing to support BEPS related construction. Next, please. So DOEE. DOEE is obviously the main government agency of the District of Columbia government that we work with. They are the authority on energy and environmental issues affecting the district. They are the regulator and the administrator of the BEPS program. They are the agency that creates the BEPS standards, the implementation rules, and they enforce the non-compliance at the end of the compliance cycle that I showed you a few slides back. They have a ton of services and programs that are all free for you to use. So they publish the full BEPS guidebook which is all of the implementation guides and the rules on the BEPS program. They provide funding for support services like the Hub. They fund the Hub work. They fund a lot of the DCSEU work that is here available to you for free. They provide more energy audit resources. They have a lot of studies related to BEPS cost and opportunities. They provide direct benchmarking support. They have a very responsive help desk, so you can email them at buildingperformance@dc.gov, or you can go on their website and submit a help desk ticket. And of course, they are leading the retrofit accelerator. They have a lot more, and I'll show you that all in a minute. Next, please. So the Hub, that's who I represent. We are, as I mentioned at the beginning, a nonprofit. We are a program of IMT, but we are funded by DOEE. We are also funded by a corporate membership program and philanthropic sources of funding. So we are here to create resources, connect you to other individuals, create education, support training to anybody that's involved in the life cycle of a building, an owner, operator, tenants, designers, contractors, to help you improve your building. So we focus on high performance buildings. And when we say high performance buildings, we certainly mean energy efficiency, but we also mean a building that is healthy and safe. We also mean a building that contributes to the fabric of its community, one that is resilient and one that is low carbon. And we are here to, we create a number, we have a number of what I call static resources on our website, like regulation basics, templates for you to use, how to evaluate RFPs. We have a funding map where it connects you to all the currently available funding sources. We also have a vendor building matchmaking system to help you find vendors for your projects. We provide procurement support. We host a number of events. And I dropped our email in here, info@buildinginnovationhub.org. I'll get into our specific BEPS support resources in a second. Next, please. So again, here's that landscape of some of our most direct partners that I mentioned. Again, this is not everyone, but I hope that provides a little clarity on the different roles and responsibilities and how you can, who you can go to for what. Next. Another resource I want to bring to your attention, and I will drop this in the chat as well, is if you don't currently know how your building is performing relative to the BEPS, there are a number of ways to figure that out. The best is the BEPS disclosure. You can go on opendata.dc.gov as well, the Building Energy Performance data set. You can look your property up by address, click on it, find exactly how you're performing relative to the BEPS and where you stand and how far you need to go, as well as what standard you're being held to. You can also on Open Data find the current benchmarking information. The district has published the 2022 benchmarking data for all buildings now. So that data has been updated. And you can see, thank you, Kaylin, who put that link in the chat. So you can go in there too and see how your building is currently performing. Next, please. I want to also bring to everybody's attention the Clean Energy DC 2.0 development timeline. This is related. Again, at the beginning of my slides, you saw that pie chart that showed the percentage of emissions that come from different sectors in the District of Columbia. So in concert with the BEPS program, the district has the Clean Energy DC 2.0 currently under development. So this is an update to the first Clean Energy DC plan that was released in 2018. And it is essentially going to create a roadmap to achieving greenhouse gas targets, those greenhouse gas targets by 2045. Next slide, please. And there are multiple opportunities to get involved on the next slide, where you can see there have been listening sessions held across all the wards so far in June. Past event recordings are posted and will be posted on this website. They also have a newsletter. I highly recommend signing up for that newsletter so you can stay up to date. You can also email cleanenergydc@dc.gov to provide your thoughts, your comments, and get involved to make your voice heard. There will also be progress reports posted online. If you have any questions about how to get involved in this, I highly recommend emailing that email address on the screen. And I encourage you to stay involved because this is an opportunity to not only hear about what DC is planning and how we achieve these very ambitious collective goals, but how you and your community can make your voice heard. Next, please. So now let's get into those resources I mentioned on BEPS support that we have. We have a lot of static and a lot of interactive resources. We have our basic overview of the BEPS program. We have put the BEPS standards and the guidebook into plain speak terms. So we try to kind of not demystify it, but simplify some of the regulations to help you understand what's due when, what it means, and how it impacts you. We also have a similar guide for benchmarking, where we provide an overview of everything that's required in the district, and we also identify the common areas or errors that we see often and how to fix them. We also have a lot of building code resources and how the building code overlays with the BEPS and how they relate, how they're similar and how they're different. If you're planning, major renovation, if you're thinking about the energy conservation code, what does that mean for BEPS? Next, please. So those are sort of our static resources. We also have some more dynamic resources. And what I mean by that is we have a compliance pathway wizard. So if you have not chosen your pathway yet, if you don't know what pathway, in addition to contacting DOEE as soon as possible, check out our BEPS pathway wizard. It's a series of questions that you answer. And at the end of the wizard, we'll tell you what we think the best pathway for you and your situation is. Then we also have detailed compliance timelines. So if you've already chosen a pathway, you can click on that link and say, okay, I've chosen the prescriptive pathway. This is what I need to submit when. And we've overlaid that with the various benchmarking deadlines that you need to be aware of so that you have it all in one place. We have template scopes of work. And I mentioned our Find a Vendor portal. This is a great website. I think we have over 50 vendors in there right now and growing, where we can connect you directly to a vendor that provides the services that you might need to help you in your BEPS implementation journey. And if you don't know what you need, we are here to help you identify that. Next, please. Here are some of the DOEE resources that I mentioned. There's a very robust building performance knowledge base that the district has created. It includes a number of articles and resources on everything from energy audits to all of the different BEPS pathways to how benchmarking to there's a number of resources. I encourage you to check it out. The building owner portal is also located on the knowledge base website. This is a web-based platform for all building owners to view the status of anything that you've submitted. Previous data, any correspondence that you've had with DOEE on BEPS. You just need to create a free account if you haven't already done so, and your data will be in there for your buildings. I mentioned the energy audit report help tools. There's some pretty detailed information in there on the requirements of the prescriptive pathway. Next, please. And of course, the DCSEU resources. I won't get into this too much because you're going to hear a really great presentation next about all of these things that are available to you. But something that they can do right now that we always encourage people all buildings do, is to know how your building uses energy. We can't stress that enough. So take advantage of their level 2 energy audit incentive offer. Understand how your building was using energy in 2019, which is the standard, which are is the data that the current BEPS cycle is based on. Understand how you're performing now, and understand where you need to go. And an energy audit can support you with all of that. We highly, highly encourage that you spend the money to have an energy audit, because the return is more than what you get from the report more than makes up for what you spend on the audits. And then of course, save money while you save energy. If you have to improve your performance for BEPS, you'll be saving money as well. If you're saving energy, you're saving money, and the DCSEU can help you figure out how to do that. And I believe that's the last slide. So I'm going to pause there, see if there are any questions that have come in the chat, and I'm happy to, or just feel free to raise your hand, and you can ask me that directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Tori. So we'll give about 5 minutes, but if I don't see any questions fly into the chat, and we are not done. This is the midpoint Q&A. We have more to go, so we'll give about 5 minutes for questions. So if you would like to voice your question, feel free to raise your hand, and we will give you a shout. We'll call on you, and then you can voice your question. Also, you can just utilize the chat that I've been posting in it pretty frequently. Or if you want to be exciting and use the Q&A functionality of Teams, you can as well. Just click on the Q&A there, as you can see this little bubble here, and then you'll just be able to ask a question. All right, Ozzy, I see that you have your hand up. Feel free to come off mute and ask your question. I'm guessing that was a mistake. a mistake, Ozzy, but if you are having any technical difficulties with your mic.
Okay. Can you hear
Oh,
me
there you
now?
go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't figure out how to unmute. Okay. Just a quick question. I'm not sure, and I'm kind of new to all this. We have multifamily buildings, several of them, and they're only, the footprint of the building is only 3,000 square feet, but it has 3 levels, so it gets up to 9,000, but it's still under your 10,000. Are we under this at all? Are we required to meet benchmarks and things, or what?
Yeah, great question. If your total, if your gross floor area is under 10,000 square feet, you are not subject. As of right now, you will not be subject to it. I suppose the district could always change, the square footage requirements, but right now by law, the regulation stipulates that if you're under 10,000 square feet, you will not be subject to BEPS. But make sure that you're calculating that square footage in accordance with the rules on how to calculate. There's a guide that we have on our website on how to do that. There's also guides on DOEE's website, how to confirm that your square footage is correct.
Okay. Do you know if that's the footprint of the building or is it livable square footage?
It's the footprint of the building, I believe, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. If anybody from the district wants to weigh in on that, I would say it's kind of hard to explain it all the details on the call today, but I can get in touch with you directly and send you exactly the language on how to calculate that. It's footprint, and it's basically gross floor area. So it's not just the livable residential space.
And one last thing, is it per building or is it all the buildings we own combined or something?
It's per building.
Okay.
But yes, so each building, but take a look at, again, there's a definition on what you can consider to be a building, a campus. It has to do with things like the way your building is metered. So there are specific definitions on how to tell if it's one building or two or multiple.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ozzy, for your question, and thank you, Teresa. We have a hand up from Andrew. Feel free to come off mute and ask your question, Andrew.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having this. I'm not sure if this question is going to be answered in the second portion, but some of the properties that my company owns have already been through the retrofit accelerator, have had scopes of work prepared, and are in the process of having engineers, visit the site to put proposals together for DCSEU to vet to actually implement some of these conservation measures. There had been a concern, though, about the DCSEU fiscal year and September 15th, and whether funds committed could be spent after that date, or if there was a hard stop and we'll just have to hold our fingers and cross our fingers and see what's happening for the next fiscal year. Has there been any progress on committing funds prior to September 15th within getting this work done? Because we really want to help improve the energy efficiency of DC overall, but we're kind of being told our hands are tied on some of these. Well, if I'm putting together 112, mini split systems or something like that, good luck getting those ordered and delivered and installed by September 15th. So we're just trying to figure out if there's been any leeway on getting those funds committed versus spent.
All right, thank you, Andrew. I'm going to direct your question to Crystal and or Patty.
Hi, I'm sorry. Hi, Kaylin. Yes, this is Crystal. So there have been some adjustments made to the retrofit accelerator program about what will be accommodated in this fiscal year and the next. So I've just reached out to my director to give us the latest update on that. Ben, are you available?
I think Ben is not online anymore. This is Patty Boyd. Hi, everybody.
Okay.
I think Michael Feldman-Weincheck is on the call as well, working directly with the retrofit accelerator. The DCSU has never been able to guarantee funding past a fiscal year. but last fiscal year, the money did roll over into this fiscal year. I do know that the Retrofit Accelerator team, who you should keep close in contact with, is working on creating kind of a phased payment scheme. That's the goal, is to come up with a phased payment scheme to be able to support equipment purchases, before the end of the fiscal year. But please get in touch with your contact at the Retrofit Accelerator, or send me an email, and I will get you in touch with your contact, and we can follow up on your specific case. And I don't know, Michael, if you'd like to add something to that conversation.
Thanks, Patty. Yeah, I think I agree with Patty's assessment. Yeah, unfortunately, this is like the structure of local government funding is year to year, right? And we're still waiting for the full picture of what that funding is going to look like in terms of rollover funding for the accelerator program into next year. But yeah, I will say the funding's not going away, but it like if it doesn't roll over, it's just going to be reduced. And so we'll have to know.
So the
exactly how much
contractors
is
I have
left.
I have coming through are looking at specifically and only the items that we know or they think that they can pull off and complete by September 15th. So should we also be having those contractors look at those larger projects now, so that we're prepared for September 15th or that? Because right now the Retrofit Accelerator folks that are sending them through are only giving them guidance for the projects that they know that can be completed.
Right. So I'd have to defer on the definitive answer to the SEU as it's their contract that they're implementing. However, my understanding is that because of we know how much money is available this fiscal year, the SEU is trying to get as much work done as possible that can be done this fiscal year. And like I said, the program isn't going away after the end of the fiscal year. It's just we don't know what the budget will be necessarily. So I think, yeah, I'd have to defer on what the capacity is for getting bids in parallel on other measures. But my sense is that the goal is get the bids for what can be installed now, and then step 2 will be later on of, okay, what are the costs for doing other things? And then at that point, we'll be able to they'll be able to pair specific funding to it. But Patty, so you come.
I just want to add, Andrew, please send me an email and I will make sure that you get in touch with our Retrofit Accelerator team to make sure that you have the correct answer.
Absolutely. I'm definitely in touch with them, but I also know that I'm not the only project they're working on, and they're probably extremely overwhelmed. So that's the only reason why I keep asking the question, just to, because I don't want to miss it if it happens. So I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Andrew, I think if you, I'll put my email in the chat as well, and I can speak with you about the BEPS regulatory side of things. There are a lot of flexibilities in the regulations as well, that we've been working with a lot of the accelerator projects to make sure that regardless of the funding situation, there's a plan in place for you. So feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to set up time to talk.
Perfect. Cool. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Patty. Also, I know we have a few questions. I'm going to try to, and I know that somebody's hands up, but we got a few that came through the chat. I'm going to try to answer these two. We're going to try to get through these 2 questions that are in the chat. And then I will let's forge ahead in the interest of time. And that first question is, if a building attempts to reach the target under the performance pathway but falls just shy of it, how will the penalty be calculated?
Yeah, great question. The penalty will be calculated based on how far away from the target you wind up being. So if you say you need to improve your performance by 20%, reduce your EEY by 20%, but you're at 18% at the end of the compliance pathway, the district will look at, could potentially, and again, there's guidelines for how the fines and the penalties are calculated in the guidebook, but it's based on how far you went and how far you are away from the standard. So you won't be necessarily, you won't receive the full penalty, the full $10 per square foot. It will be based on how much work you have done and how much you have improved your performance. And there's a full calculation that I'm happy to send you in the guidebook on exactly what that is.
All righty, thank you, Teresa, again. And we have one last question here, and I know I have a hand up in the chat, but we'll see if we can get to that one too. Well, thank you for. Okay. I'll read because Vic, you have to leave. Can DCSEU allow all CBEs in the DC to do? Can the DCSEU allow all CBEs in the DC to work as they are already vetted by DSLBD instead of the smaller list that the DCSEU maintains? And for that one, I will pass to I can pass to Crystal to answer that one specifically.
Yes. Thank you for the question, Vicki. We are always interested in working with our CBE community, and I'll talk a little bit about a training program for our CBE community. But as with all of our programs, while we try to equip our CBEs to compete, we do invite them always to submit proposals, and we have to be open to a competitive bidding market. And once you go through the selection and review process, or you've been vetted for our programs that are non-competitive, then that CBE will definitely be listed. For example, in our energy audit program, we have a participating auditors program where you just have to be vetted to meet some business requirements, basically, and then we will be able to post them. But we can talk a little bit more about that, and I'll place my email address in the chat, and look forward to hearing more from you if you have any other questions.
Yes, and I will also note that if you register, you will get the recording. So you will, if you have to leave, you will get the recording as well. And the last question I have here is: our existing building in the process of redevelop. Our existing building in the process is in the process of redevelopment. We want to demolish the existing building and rebuild it into a new construction passive house. We are still in the entitlement process, and demolish and construction will not start until summer of 2024. So is there a waiver for BEPS compliance for existing buildings that are in the process of redevelopment? That sounds like a question that should be directed to DOEE via the help desk or via the performance building.performance@dc.gov. But I'll let Teresa, if you want to take a stab at this one.
Yeah, I'll start, but I do encourage you to directly reach out to DOEE about it, establish communication as soon as possible. First of all, congratulations to you for deciding to build to passive house standards. I think that's fantastic. Secondly, it's not really a waiver, if you will, but if you have been subject to the BEPS, if you are subject to the BEPS based on your 2019 data, if you did receive that notice from the District of Columbia that your building is subject to the BEPS, there is not necessarily a waiver, but they do understand that things change, that projects are redeveloped, that buildings are redeveloped. So they will work with you to determine, what exactly you need to do. And as long as you keep them informed, let them know that this is what's being planned, that it will be fully demolished. There's just establish that communication right now, and they will work with you to let you know what you need to do. But it's safe to say that if your building is demolished, you obviously it's a totally new building, and there are specific rules that you will need to follow around that. So without going into it in too much detail on the call today, I would agree with Kaylin. Reach out to DOEE, and I can send you more information too from the guidebook on the new construction rules for BEPS.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Much appreciated. With that, we're gonna forge ahead. Thank you all. We'll have another, probably a little more abbreviated this time, question and answer period, but I'm gonna pass to Paige and Patty to talk a little bit about the DCSEU.
Thanks, Kaylin. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paige Dunleavy. I'm an account manager at DCSEU. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time today going through our current incentive programs. Next slide, please, Kaylin. So at the DCSEU, we offer rebates for a variety of commercial projects. Our standard rebates are for lighting, motors, HVAC, refrigeration, and food and service and vending. You're able to apply for these directly online through our website. We also have instant point of purchase rebates for lighting if you use one of our pre-approved vendors. That is also, you can find that on our website. And then for more comprehensive projects, we have our custom rebates in which you will work with an account manager to get a rebate for your project that's based on estimated energy savings. Next slide, please, Kaylin. And so alongside our rebate programs, DCSEU also provides no-cost technical support. So our technical services can include, but are not limited to, performing walkthroughs at customer sites and following up with relevant recommendations that customers should consider in order to improve energy efficiency on their site. Also, we help with reviewing utility bills and AMI data to understand the building's energy use. We help provide reality checks to vendors, equipment, design, and commissioning claims to make sure everything's legitimate. And lastly, we create an appropriate incentive amount to help offset the incremental cost of adding such equipment, because we know upgrading energy equipment can end up being pretty expensive. Next slide, please. So at the end of February, we have rolled out our energy audit incentive. Next slide, please. So we are offering an energy audit incentive to any commercial or multifamily buildings that are over 50,000 square feet in the district, whether or not they meet BEPS. So to receive the incentive, the building must work with an approved auditor to complete an ASHRAE Level 2 energy audit. You can find a list of approved auditors on our website, or if you want to sign up as an auditor, or if you know someone who would like to sign up, you can set up a meeting with our trade ally manager, Rick Fleury. So you will be able to work, can you go back? Sorry, Kaylin. Sorry about that. So you'll be able to work with a DCSU participating auditor to analyze the building's existing systems, implement new equipment and strategies to increase energy efficiency, cut energy usage and cost, reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the building, and also help the building meet BEPS. As well, you can work with DCSEU to determine which rebates and incentives are available for your building's plans. Now you can go to the next slide. So there's a couple of requirements DCSU has for this program, and it differs slightly based on the BEPS status of the building. So for the program requirements that are the same, so the energy audit that is completed must be in compliance with the ASHRAE Level 2 standards, and the building has to be above 50,000 square feet. The DCSU will also provide a preliminary incentive analysis based on the completed audit, and property owners and managers are limited to 2 audits. Then the difference between the two, between the standards, so if your building does not meet BEPS currently, then the incentive will be 5 cents per square feet up to $15,000. But if your building does meet BEPS, then the incentive will be 2.5 cents per square feet up to $7,500. Next slide, please. And so I would like you to note that if you are pursuing the BEPS prescriptive pathway, then you'll need to complete an audit that complies with the requirements outlined by the District Department of Energy and Environment. The DCSEU can't guarantee that the audits that we are providing incentive for will meet these requirements. So if you are going towards the prescriptive pathway, please let your auditor know that's the pathway you've chosen, so that it can make the appropriate changes. So as I mentioned before, if you're interested, or if you know someone who's interested in becoming a participating auditor, please visit our website to schedule a meeting with Rick Fleury, our trade ally manager. He'll be able to tell you what we need in order to approve you. Next slide, please. Thank you. So one of our programs pay for performance, or P4P. So P4P was originally rolled out in 2019, but because of COVID, we no longer have an accurate baseline for energy usage data. But now we're in 2023 and we've had a few years to get back to normal. We can now use that energy usage as a baseline. And so next slide, please. P4P is a savings analysis tool within our custom program. And it's unlike our typical custom incentives in which we usually will use the energy, estimated energy savings. In P4P, we actually will use the actual energy consumption to get an incentive. So in this program, we will collect pre and post project energy data to use a regression analysis to determine the real savings. Next slide, please. So P4P helps incentivize continuous energy improvements and encourages creative solutions beyond the traditional project. It also does align with the BEPS compliance actions. So examples of P4P measures would be controls and setback changes, envelope weatherization, and other types of ceilings, and and retro commissioning. And so an example of a P4P project was that a building came to us with a duct ceiling project, and we weren't able to provide the traditional incentive because there was no way of knowing how leaky the ducts were, so that we couldn't figure out an estimated savings. But the customer ended up coming back to us stating that there was a huge drop of energy costs. And through this information, we were able to perform the P4P regression analysis, and we saw energy savings of 886 megawatt hours. So we were then able to get an incentive for that building. So this will allow us to kind of go outside of the norms of our other programs. And so next slide, please. And then at DCSEU, we also have various programs for affordable housing and buildings that help affordable communities. Next slide, please. So we define affordable multifamily housing as a building that with 5 or more dwellings that either have restrictions or other covenants that require that at least 50% of all of the building dwellings are occupied by households that have household incomes less than or equal to 80% of the area median income. Or the building owner can demonstrate that the rent levels in at least 50% of the dwelling units are affordable to households with incomes less than or equal to 80% of the AMI. And I know that is a lot of words, but that information can be found on our website as well. And so DCSU, we have to verify that the building is low income or affordable by rent rolls, covenant letters, tax credit letter, or Medicaid program enrollment form. Also, if a building serves the low to moderate income community, then the verification we accept is a Medicaid program enrollment form, covenant letter, or a stakeholder letter. Next slide, please. So this slide is a brief overview of our affordable housing programs that we offer. Our standard offerings include the Low Income Qualified Efficiency Fund, or IQEF, our Low Income Comprehensive and Prescriptive programs, as well as rebates for buildings with 80% AMI, shelters, and clinics. And we also provide technical assistance for energy efficiency projects. We also work heavily with the Solar for All program. Under that is the Community Renewable Energy Facility, as well as building owners with income qualified residents are able to participate in this program. We have recently revamped our Affordable Housing Retrofit Accelerator program, and this program is for income qualified multifamily buildings that are not in compliance with BEPS. And lastly, we have our 50,001 Ready program, in which we work with our parent company to help multifamily building owners and other building owners operate their buildings to the full potential. Next slide, please. So the Income Qualified Efficiency Fund, also known as IQEF, it is a DCSEU sole offering, and the application is opened July 5th for the FY24 season. And these applications are due July 13th for priority assessment, or at the end of October 13th, and all the applications are due on October 31st. So this program is an SETF funded program, and it's designed to help eligible affordable multifamily buildings, shelters, or clinics that serve low to moderate income residents. It helps preserve the affordable housing in the district while also cutting energy costs, running their building more efficiently, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and increasing the quality of life for their residents and the communities that they serve. And so I want to just emphasize that this program is not centered around BEPS, so any building of any size can apply if it is within these program requirements. Who benefits from this program? So any eligible affordable multifamily buildings and shelters or clinics that serve low to moderate income residents who call these buildings their home, and also the local contract and green workforce supporting these upgrades as we hire local contractors for this program. And so through this program, we are offering approved contractor support, enhanced incentives for lighting and electrical HVAC upgrades, project management and technical assistance, and preference for projects that impact more residents, have more matching funds, and achieve more energy savings with fewer dollars spent. And so the next slide, please. The next program I wanted to talk about is the Affordable Housing Retrofit Accelerator. So this program focuses on multifamily buildings that are currently do not meet the BEPS standard. So the DOEE, DCSEU, and DC Green Bank are working together to design a program to help qualified affordable multifamily buildings and other under-resourced buildings to help meet BEPS, preserve the affordability, cut energy costs, run their building more efficiently, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, again to also increase the quality of life of these residents. A little bit of the same, but kind of different from IQF. The Affordable Housing Retrofit Accelerator is benefiting around 100 eligible multifamily buildings and other under-resourced buildings that do not currently meet BEPS. It benefits the residents that live in the building and also local contractors and green workforce supporting these upgrades. And the Retrofit Accelerator is offering an Energy Star Portfolio Manager benchmarking data scrub. As of right now, we are helping cover the entire cost of an ASHRAE Level 2 energy audit that helps meet the BEPS prescriptive pathway requirements. We also help with BEPS compliance support, so we will help you develop an action plan to help the building meets BEPS and into the next cycle as well. Financial support for selective energy efficiency and retro-commissioning projects, and helping with the electrification and fuel switching options. And then the last program I wanted to talk to you about, if you want to go to the next slide, is within the multifamily building and renewable space. Next slide, please. So we have the Community Renewable Energy Facilities, also known as CREFs. So this is facilities through Solar for All. The DCSU works with local solar developers to design and install large community solar voltaic systems on commercial and multifamily properties around the district. So these facilities will help benefit low income and qualified residents who do not live in single family homes by cutting their electricity bills up to 50%. The property owners will also benefit from this as the property value was increased, potential lease payments from the developer, and the building owner in the building might have improvements such as a new roof. And again, local contractors and green workforce will be benefited as spending over $25 million in incentives with local developers and creating over 127 FTE green jobs for DC residents to fill. And then I'm going to pass it over to Crystal to talk about how you can engage with the DCSEU.
Thank you, Paige. That was great coverage. As I said earlier, we want to make it easy for you to navigate through our programs. We have a team of account managers and engineers who will partner with you to go through all of the steps associated with our different program areas. Next slide, please. So we have these kind of steps through the program divided by the type of work you're pursuing. If you're just looking for what we call prescriptive rebates or business energy rebates, there's a pathway for that. And then we have pathways for other more complex projects, including new construction, renovation, gut rehabs, basically, energy equipment retrofits, and of course, pay for performance. So each of these steps are summarized to go through the documentation that will be needed, the type of analysis required, the installation step, and the inspections that require, then of course, the incentive of payment. So very high level kind of steps through each of the programs. And again, you can rely on your assigned account manager to help you navigate through each of these steps based on the type of project you're pursuing. And let me just mention one thing. In the grid, you'll see ECs, the letters ECs mentioned. Those are energy consultants or energy engineers. So just wanted to add that point of definition for you. Next slide. All of our incentives require an incentive agreement. And basically the process, again, is to complete the incentive agreement once an estimated savings value is agreed upon. And this is where our engineering pool comes in. They have their various tools to calculate potential energy saved, and your incentive payment will be based on that dollars per megawatt hours saved or dollars per MMBTU saved. A new IA will be required if the project completes in a different fiscal year, mainly because we are given a budget for the current fiscal year. We design our programs accordingly or our incentives accordingly, and then we have to wait to see what type of funding we get for the next fiscal year and make a determination on the exact level of that incentive available for your project. And again, our account managers will keep you up to date on what the new incentive level will be if it changes at all. In some cases, we honor the incentive established in the previous year. So again, stick closely with your account manager. And then of course for P4P, the final yield will be determined or the incentive amount will be determined during that performance period. Okay, next slide. Some additional resources worth noting here. We do run programs to build capacity here in the district for our green building workforce. And we are looking at administrative types of jobs as well as those technical jobs. We call them inside jobs as well as outside jobs. The first program most of you may be familiar with is focused on the individual, a workforce development program where we have what we call externs. The externs are like interns, but they are placed with a mentor and a host site for at least 3 to 5 months. They will get intense on the job training in the green space, as well as other consumer skills like financial literacy and how not just to get a job, but to keep a job and things like that. And so we have a very diverse audience for this individually focused program. And we're always looking for mentors. We actually need to have more mentors for our next cohort. But right now we're doing pretty well for our newly launched summer cohort. And we have about 20 externs who are currently placed with our partners throughout the city. This is a win-win situation because the DCSEU will pay the salary. It gives the mentors a chance to do on-the-job training and observation with the intent of hiring at the end of the workforce development cohort. So we're super excited about our summer cohort and looking forward to graduating the summer cohort around the beginning of September. And then following that, Our winter cohort begins in January. So if you're interested in being a mentor or would like to learn more about the program, you see the web address here. And then secondly, we have, I'm sorry, go back. Okay. Secondly, we have our Train Green program. The SEICBP is the legal name for the program. It's the Sustainable Energy Infrastructure Capacity Building Pipeline Program. And so we've been allowed to just announce the program as Train Green. It was launched in 2021, and we work in partnership with the DOEE and DSLBD, the Department of Small and Local Business Development. And it's really focused on our contractor community. Priority is given to our CBEs or CBE eligible firms in the district and our DC residents. And that's really to enhance skills in various, we have like 5 educational pathways, including HVAC, building operations and maintenance, sustainable and healthy buildings, and of course, solar. And then there's one other pathway that I'm forgetting right now, but it is available on our website. But we do offer introductory and intermediate and advanced courses in those areas. With that coursework comes examinations, and we cover the cost of training as well as the examination costs. There are training courses that address credentials that are required to do some of the BEPS work that we've mentioned. For example, CEMs, Certified Energy Managers. We do offer course on-demand CEM where the participant can earn their credential in order to do the work that is required by our green building policies. And our policies are creating a significant demand, hence the need for a program like Train Green. So again, it's at no cost to the participants. We've completed of the 20, I think around 25 or 26 courses we've offered this year so far. We have about 10 courses that are left that are still open for the balance of this year. So please do take a look at the Train Green courses that are available, as well as the types of courses that are available. And it's a benefit to, again, all district residents, but with a focus on CBEs and CBE eligible firms. Next slide. I can't say enough about our account management team, including Paige, as well as Yvonne Colesman, if you may have worked with Yvonne. But we have a whole team of account managers. And while we try to assign them to the vertical markets here in the district, there may be some overlap across the different markets. So, for example, while Paige may work with affordable housing, she also does other small under-resourced buildings like churches, clinics, shelters, etc. So again, just reach out to them initially. If you have any other questions, you can reach out directly to me. I did post my email address in the chat. And yeah, our team is here and ready to serve.
All righty, thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pop up to the order of questions, but as you can see here, it's some of the same slide, but we have a few questions that are already in the pipeline. So I'm gonna start with Justin's. Is there a separate auditor list maintained by the retrofit accelerator? The short answer to that is yes, and I will pass for the long answer.
Yes, that list is available, and it is maintained by the ARA team, the Affordable Housing Retrofit Accelerator team we have here at DCSEU. If you're interested, please just send me your email address and I'll make sure it gets in the right hands for a response and sharing of that list. But it is not publicly available on our website.
I would add, though, that on the list at the bottom of the page for audits, many of the firms that are on that list are also working with the Retrofit Accelerator.
Good point, Patty. Thank you for adding that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna creep on down my question list. with two questions from Guy. So, will you help multifamily install the EV charging stations? I'm going to pass to both Crystal and Patty on this one.
Go ahead,
Patty,
Crystal.
I'll defer to
I can
you.
do color commentary after.
Yes. So right now, EV charging stations are not a part of our current benchmarks that we have to deliver on to the DOEE. But we are very interested in clean energy technologies all the way around. And I'll ask Patty to say more about that.
Yeah, the focus of the base contract for the DCSEU is officially energy efficiency, not necessarily the electric vehicle charging. And there are programs with the district, with DOEE, on electric vehicles.
Righty, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna keep going down those questions. Will affordable housing grants from the DCSU help switch gas stoves to electric stoves? All right, I'll pass again to both Crystal and Patty.
Yeah, we do have an HVAC replacement program, and that program addresses the district's path to electrification. And it does include not just the electrification of your cooking stove, but your HVAC equipment as well. So, and that program is called the HVAC replacement program.
Yep. Right now, that program is only for single family, not necessarily for multifamily. I would right this minute, I would say with our standard offering, we don't do the fuel switch. We do have that program, but with our standard offering for multifamily, we don't do the fuel switch yet. But especially with the IRA funding coming through and the demand for electrification of, you know, any gas burning equipment in the residence, in the building, it will likely happen in the future that we will have that, but it doesn't exist right now.
All righty. Sometimes solar contractors call us. Should we call you first for solar or work with contractors for solar? If you're interested in hosting a community solar or a CREF, a community renewable energy facility, you can definitely go to our website, and I'll post that in the chat, to see who the approved developers are for the year, and you can reach out directly to those developers if you like to basically see how they can work with you on getting a project to become a host site for community renewable energy facilities or CREFs. So that specifically, I will say, but I'll let Crystal and Patty take any other parts of that question if we need to.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Okay, so for multifamily buildings, we consider solar installations or renewable energy installations another measure where we offered a standard incentive. And so you don't have to clear those solar contractors through us, but we will need information from them to calculate an incentive on your renewable energy installation. I will say that with our solar program standard offer, I should say, we will ask you for energy efficiency projects as well. So that has been a part of our offer for this fiscal year. We call it RE plus EE, meaning coupling the renewable energy with an energy efficiency project as well. So you can talk more to your account manager about that and how that works.
Yeah, it gets a little bit confusing because we have multiple funding streams coming in that allow us to roll out different programs. So what Crystal was just talking about is our base contract, Sustainable Energy Trust Fund funded solar offering that anybody, you know, that you can come and ask us, and you can use your own vendor to be able to do that. What Kaylin just put into the chat is a link for the REDF, the Renewable Energy Development Fund funding that also comes through the DCSEU, where we work with contractors to install these CREFs, the Community Renewable Energy Facilities. It's a separate source of funding, and in that case, I do believe that we have set contractors, but I also believe that each year those contractors can change because we put out an RFP to get those projects. So if you have questions, I know it is confusing, but we have it all figured out on our side. So if you could just reach out to us and we can see where your project fits.
And I will mention a third solar program,
Oh, yeah,
and that
go
is
ahead.
for single family homes, affordable housing, single family, and we run that Solar for All program on behalf of the DOEE as well.
Right, and
So
that
again,
is also
separate
out
pot
of
of
the
funding.
the REDF funding. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Patty and Crystal. And we have one more question from Guy that popped in the chat. And when will you be able to help with window replacement programs for multifamily affordable housing providers? DOEE should let you vet window replacement energy savings requests. I know I'll pass to both Crystal and Patty on this one.
You want me to take the first pass at that one?
I know that that is a topic that we're exploring now, internally.
So, Guy, I'm not sure if the building you're talking about is in the retrofit accelerator. And if that's the case, again, please write an email to me and I'll try to figure it out on our side. I'm not sure what's happening with the measures that are being approved by DOEE for the retrofit accelerator. I will say that for our standard offering, the SET on the SETF side, that a window replacement project could be a perfect candidate for a pay for performance project on our SETF side. So again, Paige put her information into, it'll come in the slide deck. She put it into the link. Depending on, which building it is, we can, again, on our side, figure out where it goes. And like I said, windows are one of the reasons why we have the pay for performance offering on the SETF side.
And I will say that whatever your ideas are or your plans are, let us know about them and we will figure out a way to serve you. I know we're talking about a lot of different program tracks, but we will figure out a way to serve you.
Yeah, as early as you can. When you know you're doing something that could save energy, come to the DCSEU and see how we can support you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Crystal, Patty. Thank you, Guy and Justin, for your questions. If there are any more questions, please do post them in the chat. Again, as you can see on this lovely slide here, you can raise your hand there and I'll give you a shout and you can come off mute and speak your question. You can post in the chat like you've been doing, or you can find a use case for Microsoft Teams Q&A function and click on that little question mark bubble and ask a question as you see here and here. So either one, but I won't belabor the point. If there aren't any more questions, I'll give some time for folks to choose their avenue of questions. But if there are any more, I won't hold us up, but I will reiterate to please reach out, use those links, those book time links. If you have a project, if you have questions about a project, if you're in the early stages of planning a project, wherever you are, just do use those book time meetings, book time links. Also, you will receive a recording, along with the presentation, the slide presentation that contains a lot of the links that we have in the slide. That contains all the links we have in the slide, and then a lot of the links that we posted in the chat today. All right, I see another question from Guy. So let's go. DOEE required more paperwork on low income. LIHEAP required, but DCSU or social workers are needed to sign up everybody for LIHEAP. Can you get the funds to sign up groups of low income tenants? I'm trying to break that question down. Is it if possible, could you come off come off mute and ask that question vocally, because I'm not sure, unless Crystal, Patty, or anybody else on the DCSU team, chat only. No problems. But if if you could try to clarify.
I would just ask Shayna to come on, well, at least drop her email address for a follow-up on this question. Shayna manages our low-income programs.
And if Shayna's already gone, I will post the email that you can use.
Yeah, let's do that. So Shayna can follow up on the specifics around this question.
All right, I'm posting this one in the chat guide for you. All right, you can reach Shayna there directly. So, feel free to utilize that email address to ask that question. Apologies. All right, if there are any more questions, please do, post them in chat, or come off mute, or raise your hand, then come off mute, or utilize the Q&A function. Either one. I'll give us about another 2 to 3 more minutes. Just give folks a chance. But again, I'll reiterate, you will receive the recording and slides if you registered. So regardless of your attendance, you will receive the slides if you registered, along with the recording. It will be a YouTube link and a PDF that you will receive from info@DCSEU. All right, so that'd be a good chance. If you haven't whitelisted our email info app, please do whitelist stuff. So make sure you receive that. Alrighty, and I'm not seeing anything else, so I'm gonna pass back to Crystal for any final words. But thank you all, and thank you to IMT. And
Yep. Just thanks everyone for joining us today. And again, just follow up with us, and we're happy to address your concerns. Thank you.